Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Redmen TV and a rather impromptu breaking news show on a Thursday afternoon. My name is Dan Club. I'm here for the next 15, 20, 25 minutes or so to speak to you about the fact that Rio Ngumoha has signed his first professional contract with Liverpool Football Club. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The wonder kid who we poached, stole, signed from Chelsea last summer is now a professional footballer. I mean, he kind of was anyway, but now he's a confirmed bona fide professional footballer. His performances have warranted him being called that for quite some time, it's fair to say, but now it's official. Liverpool announced literally 7 minutes ago his new contract. On their website, you can see it here. Rio Ngumoha signs first professional contract with Liverpool FC. I just scrolled down. The forward, who arrived at the academy in September 2024, having previously been at Chelsea. Chelsea weren't best pleased with Liverpool stealing one of their most prodigious, brightest talents, it's fair to say. So much so, I believe they might have sort of stopped us watching their players, but whatever. Has made only five senior appearances. It's a lot more than that when you factor in pre-season, where he was absolutely sensational as well, but that is still not many. It feels like he's not been around forever, obviously, but his emergence this season especially has been so exciting and promising that it does just feel like he's played more than that. Most recently in Tuesday's 2-1 Carabao Cup win over Southampton, Ngumoha netted a 100th minute winner in a 3-2 victory at Newcastle United last month. He most definitely did, on the occasion of his Premier League debut. Then goes on to talk about his England under-19 international exploits, talks about the fact he's featured for the 18s, 19s and 21s last season, and was handed his senior debut by Arne Slot in the Emirates FA Cup tie with Accrington Stanley in January of this year. So then, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, how do we feel? Excited, I imagine. There has been a little bit more meat added to the bone when it comes to this contract for Rio. Fabrizio Romano has took to Twitter, as he so often does, and he has said that he understands the deal will be valid until 2028. So roughly, it's June 2028 as well, so that's just, 3 years-ish, just less than, of course. So it was an absolute necessity for Liverpool to get this done. Not only, as I mentioned, is he one of the brightest talents on the scene right now, but once you've turned 17, professional terms come as somewhat of a prerequisite, especially if you are absolutely adamant that the kid is one for the future, and Liverpool are most definitely that on Rio. And he has been a little bit of an ongoing project for some time now. Obviously, a lot of the sales pitch to him to get him to the football club was about the pathway to the first team, and he's succeeded in continuing on that pathway. Liverpool have got a good track record of signing some of the best talents from across the country and allowing them opportunities to make it to the first team as a play senior football. We started that under Jurgen Klopp, really. We've continued it under Arne Slot, and Rio is the latest in a line of succession that have done that. Obviously, Trainioni is in that conversation right now as well. But with Rio, they really sort of moved heaven and earth to make sure they got the deal done, because he is that exciting. He is that good. And the signs were there from such an early age of just the ability this kid had. And we've all seen he's so special. So, I think we can all be really excited about him and indeed this news. I think it's really, really positive news. It's funny, actually, you should mention this, and I'll bring it up now. This is the second time some of you might be seeing me today on YouTube. And earlier on, I promise you, I had no inside knowledge on this contract. Why would I? But me and Paul just had quite a laissez-faire, casual chat, because I just thought there's not loads going on in the news cycle now when it comes to the Reds. Obviously, the only stuff, Carabao Cup draw a little bit, the other night a little bit, but there isn't a lot to talk about. So I thought, let's just have a wider conversation around contracts. And Cody Gakpo signed his new deal, Conor Bradley before him, sort of who's next conversation. And Rio got brought up because, as it stood, his terms, according to Transfermarkt, expired at the end of the season, and Liverpool would naturally want to sort that. And as Titi Kamara, thanks for joining us, Titi, rightly says, it was always a no-brainer, but it still needed addressing, it still needed sorting. And not 2 hours later, once Paul's left the building and that clip about the contracts has gone out on YouTube, and I think Paul referenced the fact that an agreement may well be in place, we might find out in due course. Literally, I'm sat here again, and we'll talk about the fact that Rio Ngumoha signed a new contract. So, It's a funny old world, but it's great. It really is. It might well be that, Jamie. I'm not aware of any ruling around that, but you might be spot on in terms of the regulation. And what we do know is, and we don't know, and we can't delve into the finer details when it comes to the finances around this, and rightfully so as well. I'm sure there'll be some website somewhere posting just exactly how much Rio's earned at some point. But Liverpool are really, really, really conscious of how they manage youngsters and the academy talents. And somebody like Rio comes into that category as well, obviously. And the controlling the rise and the emergence of somebody like him is really difficult. It's really difficult for lots of reasons, because there's so much attention and there's so much conversation and media focus on him, certainly off the back of what he did at Newcastle, obviously. But Liverpool they've got to really sort of wrap him in cotton wool and make sure that it doesn't get too much for him, he doesn't get overawed by it. And on the flip side, he doesn't get sort of carried away with it, and he doesn't get sort of too big for his boots and ahead of his time. He doesn't strike me as a character, and he's got all the right people around him. Liverpool will clearly protect him from that as well. But when it comes to the finances and the money, and there's obviously reporting Alex Inglethorpe sort of instilled that very humble nature in the academy. You weren't allowed phones and stuff like that as an example of the sort of rules that are in place there. So Liverpool are absolutely on it when it comes to managing the expectations and controlling the environment that the youngsters play in and operate in. I know Rio can't really be considered an academy kid anymore, although he's only 17, because he's just part of the first team setup now. He's in there, he's in training every single day with the first team. He's in match day every single squad with the first team as well. So he isn't really that anymore, but they won't have taken an eye off him in terms of his development, in terms of how he's being managed, how he's being handled, because again, he's just so young, and this contract will fall into the same category as well, and what have you. Yeah, we did, Dan, we did. And I come back to it. I was not privy to the news that this was coming out later on today. It's just a happy coincidence. I actually had one of them a few years ago. I won't bore you with the details too much, but I was sat here and somebody asked me about Carter Pinnington once, young centre-half in the academy. And I said, yeah, I really like him, think he's a top talent. And I promise you now, as I was sat here, I got a notification on my phone, Liverpool Football Club, Carter Pinnington signed a new deal. That was weird. But this isn't quite that. Liam Henley says, more Belter news. I read Gravenberch is getting offered a boss contract soon too. Yet again, which would be just rewards for his performances. The contract that he signed, whilst lucrative and certainly, you know, in terms of pitching where he was probably at in terms of his status in the squad and what have you, he's then outgrown that, it feels like. And McAllister and Szoboszlai, for what it's worth, again, I had a good chat with Paul about this. There's a clip on YouTube now, in terms of what they've done since they arrived, and they're standing in the squad, and they all expire, all three of them, in 2028. So I think Liverpool will be keen to tie them all down for a little bit longer than that, and again on better, improved terms, because they've earned it, all three of them in their own right, as has Rio Ngumoha, which is why we're sat here right now. It did, yeah, that is true, TC, as far as I'm aware as well. And I think Liverpool will be addressing that one next, if indeed that is absolutely on the money, because that is according to Transfermarkt, which is where I got my information from earlier on too. But yeah, Liverpool won't let that drift on much longer, because whatever we think about how they think and talk about and see Rio Ngumoha's future, which, let's be honest, the sky is the limit for this kid. It really, really is. Trainioni is a beat behind that, if at all. And I thought it was actually good the other night, for what it's worth, against Southampton, against the semi-decent Championship side under the Anfield lights. I don't think that's an easy scenario for any 18-year-old kid. I include Giovanni Leone in that, until obviously the unfortunate incident ended his night prematurely. But Rio Ngumoha and Trainioni, the way they've taken to every single challenge thrown at them on a first team level has been nothing short of remarkable for me. Rio, he's got the lot, hasn't he? He's got it all, let's be honest. He's an absolute sensation. And I come back to it, there's a reason Liverpool pulled out all the stops and went all out to get him to the football club, and he's already started repaying that. There's a reason Chelsea fumed at the fact we were able to steal him from under their nose in the academy. He is ridiculous, and anything is possible, in my opinion, in terms of what he's capable of, because I've been fortunate enough, and I've said this many times, if you hear me repeat myself, forgive me, to watch a lot of him since he arrived, 18s, 21s, and now obviously in the first team fold and the first team setup as well. And fearless is probably the headline word I'd use to describe him, because every single time he gets the ball, we've seen it. Doesn't matter what's in front of him, his first thought is, how can I be dangerous? How can I impact the game? How can I beat my man? How can I make something happen in an attacking sense? It's not always on, and I think he's learned that quickly. To sort of start again isn't necessarily always a bad thing, because there's times whereby when he was 18, not even 18 yet, when he was playing under 18s, I should say, where he'd beat his man and he'd almost want to come back and beat him again because he just found it fun. And he's capable, but that doesn't have a tangible end product, a tangible output on it as well. So, yeah, all in good time. But my word, is this kid a special talent? And he does absolutely deserve it. As signings go, this is as good as all other business. But that's high praise indeed when you consider what we've been able to achieve this summer. Craig says he's the most exciting player since Michael Owen. And let's, if we speak solely about the moment that he had, pre-season was littered with dazzling moments and special moments from Rio. Couple of goals, couple of instances where he beats 2 or 3 men and just looks absolutely tailor-made to be a first-team footballer. And then Luis Diaz leaves and we think, okay, is Rio the kid? Where he's at in terms of his squad status right now is far higher than I anticipated. And I questioned it, to be honest, but he's earned it. And he's earned it with his performances. Every single time he's put on a Liverpool shirt, he's excelled for me. And he just looks $1 million and he looks the part. I can't give him much more praise than that. And I come back to his debut, which I mentioned earlier on in the statement for Liverpool against Accrington. Having watched a lot of him at that point, I was excited about watching him in the first team and at Anfield, and I was really sort of looking forward to the prospect of it, but I was intrigued by it. And within 10, 15 minutes of it, I went, he's sound, because it was no different than watching him play 18s and 21s footy, because he had exactly the same mindset, same mentality. Let me get the ball, let me run at people. It's like he's playing with his mates in the park still. He is just that eye-catching footballer, and he's carried all that. He's carried his Chelsea beginnings through the academy at Liverpool, into pre-season, into this season proper, and he's just looked the business at every step. And we're not talking about, somebody mentioned Michael Owen there in the chat. He hasn't got the numbers to sort of stack up against Michael or other people of that ilk and that nature, but he's not ready to do that. That will come in good time. And I don't think we can doubt that it will come. Absolutely. He's going to be a sensation. And he's still learning. We have to remember that as well. He's literally turned 17 a matter of weeks ago. And there's so much more to come. In terms of raw ability, raw talent, this kid's got the lot, in my opinion. He really has. D. Folk says, Ryan needs a new long-term contract, in my opinion, ASAP. Absolutely agree with that. Without a shadow of a doubt as well. There's a few. Mr. Moses says here, congratulations to Rio, 100%. Ryan, Sobbo, Mach 10 and Slot Next. They're all 4 of those latter mentioned people there are ones I've had conversations around in the past few weeks with Paul Gorst in this very studio, and I agree with all of them. Liverpool have got to address them. They won't be panicking because with the midfield 3 in particular, there's quite a lot of time left. Likewise on the slot, actually. But why wait? There will be suitors out there closely monitoring situations around all of them and other Liverpool players as well. Obviously, we don't want to find ourselves in the same boat as we did with Trent, Virgil, Mo Salah, Ibu Konate now more recently. Get it done, get it boxed, tie them down, give them what they deserve in certain circumstances as well. Now, the money involved here is eye-watering, it's staggering, it beggars belief sometimes. But when you come in at a certain level of contract and you thrive and you succeed and you back up what you're getting paid, on a footballer's terms anyway, then you kind of deserve better in a way, as much as they're getting paid. Far too much money anyway. Gravenberch is a no-brainer, the best in the world possibly in a moment, and he is probably the one out of him, Szoboszlai and McAllister. You can make cases and arguments for all of them and who deserves a new contract most. But again, I come back to it. Gravenberch signed as a squad, a rotational midfielder who was going to be part of Jurgen Klopp's plans, and he'd come in, he'd play the 8, he might even play a little bit further advance, and he'd drop in and play the deeper vault occasionally. To go from that to being like the 4/5th choice, sort of in rotation with Curtis Jones a little bit, to being, as rightly said here, probably the best deep line midfielder in world football right now. Like, if that doesn't scream new contract, I'm not sure what does, personally. But yeah, it's exciting times on and off the pitch, let's be honest. And I think this Rio news is just yet more positivity, I really do, because again, breakout start this season. Liverpool have had a magnificent, perfect start to the season. Premier League, Champions League, and now Carabao Cup. And Rio Ngumoha has been a pretty sizable part as to why. and he's getting minutes, not just in cameos. He started the other night. He's getting proper minutes, like rotational minutes. He has been the Cody Gakpo understudy, more or less, this season, at just turned 17. And if you can't see the good in that, then I can't help you, I'm afraid. It's just remarkable. Really, really is remarkable. So yeah, let's all rejoice. Rio Ngumoha will be a Red for very much the foreseeable future, and at least until 2028, hopefully for like another 15 years beyond that. I don't think we can really, I certainly can't sort of get it through my mind how there's a chance, hopefully, we'll all be watching Rio Ngumoha play football for Liverpool for like, what is he, 17, so for, 15 years, maybe more. That's a possibility, a distinct possibility. Like, we are watching this kid at the very, very start. Like, the roots are just popping out of his career, and it's so exciting to watch already. The future is bright, so bright. The future is Rio, which wasn't the catchphrase, but you got where it's coming from. The young lad showed off when it was needed most. The cup match under control, he's done well. I'm convinced they'll deliver when the stakes raise high. The stakes, let's be honest, the stakes weren't much higher than that Newcastle game. To come back to it, and I'll start to wrap up. But that moment, and I said it at the time, to deliver that finish in that moment with the intensity of that match, because it had been intense, it really had. It had been raucous atmosphere inside St James's Park. All the narrative, all the storyline, the attention, the media, the Isakness of the whole occasion just overcame it all. It overshadowed the football in many ways. It got a little bit messy. It was just, chaos, absolute chaos. So to have the presence of mind, the calmness, the composure, and above all else, the class and ability to produce that finish in that moment tells you everything you need to know about Rio Ngumoha. All the flicks, tricks, skills, in, out, beat you on the inside, beat you on the outside, all that sort of stuff, all the party tricks, that's all great. And it's a pleasure to watch, actually. But that finish in that moment, that's on another level. And he was 16 at the time. On your Premier League debut, to do that at St James's Park is just absurd, like ridiculous, honestly. And that, to me, if it was needed, was evidence and proof enough of just what a talent Liverpool Football Club have got on their hands, and what a talent Liverpool Football Club have now tied down to a professional contract until 2028, June 2028, which I'm really happy about. You may or may not have noticed, but I'm really, really happy about it. So that's it. That's your breaking news show done. I'll just clear that comment off the screen. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for interacting as ever. Yeah, just to confirm once and for all, Rio Ngumoha has signed his first professional contract at Liverpool Football Club. It will run until June 2028. Good news, everybody. I'll see you all very soon.